good things don't last forever, right? By 1996, the Dragon Ball franchise had been running for 12 long and strong years. Both the original series and its sequel, the uber-badass Dragon Ball Z, didn't take long to grow massively in popularity. People loved, and still do love, Akira Toriyama's world-building, action sequences, sense of humor, and most importantly, iconic characters. To put it simply, the adventures of Goku and the gang in Toriyama's original run are some of the most fun that you can find in any action fantasy series. That's what makes the end of Z so tough. This perfect era of Dragon Ball was over, but it wasn't all the Dragon Ball that we would get. Dragon Ball Z wrapped up its original run on January 31st, 1996, and a week later, a third series in the franchise began airing, Dragon Ball GT. Ever since February 7, 1996, people have dogged on this show. And honestly, GT is kind of an easy target. It wasn't based on anything that Toriyama had written, although he was a creative consultant, ran for just under 2 years, and kind of just ended up driving further into the aspects of Z that made us all turn off our brains. In this current oversaturated and overpowered age of Dragon Ball Super, it feels like we all have a good case of not knowing how good we had it, while we had it. Despite what many fans want you to think, Dragon Ball GT is a lot of fun. It's ridiculous, but it's a B-rate greatest hits compilation of everything that made this franchise fun in the first place, just with a few ideas that you would have expected out of a loudmouthed, ADHD brain 5th grader, me, circa 2007. Dragon Ball GT is a messy, fun, and inventive retread of what came before. Despite premiering a week after its predecessor ended, Dragon Ball GT doesn't pick up right where Z leaves off. Instead, this third series takes place about 10 years after its predecessor. GT kicks off with Goku unfortunately being turned into a kid again at the wish of the villainous Emperor Pilaf. From there, Goku ventures off with his granddaughter, Pan, and a slightly older Trunks, to collect the Black Star Dragon Balls in an attempt to save the Earth from exploding. As the series progresses, Goku and the gang face off against a Majin Buu-like villain and Baby, battle an upgraded replica of Android 17, now going by Super Android 17, and ultimately face off with the original franchise's final villain, Omega Shenron. All the while, loads of classic characters pop in and out of the narrative, including Vegeta, Gohan, and Piccolo, while also introducing new faces in Ub and Jiru. Oh yeah, and Super Saiyan 4 is a thing. Hey, when there's nowhere to go but up, why not? Let's get the negative aspects out of the way first. In a lot of ways, Dragon Ball GT is just a massive, harebrained retread of its predecessors, particularly by falling into the franchise's more action-based aspects. There are loads of fights that level enormous geographical locations. Goku and Vegeta find a way to power up to an even greater Super Saiyan level. And most of the villains are either old villains being brought back or new characters that feel like mixed-mashed versions of what we've seen before. This series is anything but original. That being said, that's kind of what makes it fun. If you're a Dragon Ball fan, you'll likely be frustrated by a lot of what GT has to offer. But look, if you come to the end of Z and can't stand the idea of leaving these characters behind, then all you need to do is turn your brain off and proceed with optimism. Dragon Ball GT is the Star Wars sequel trilogy of this franchise. It has a couple of pretty cool ideas but ends up getting busy trying to recapture the original series' charming elements, all while overpowering everything in sight. You can take the easy route and choose to hate it for lazily expanding on a world that was once so innovative in its creativity. But that would be too easy, wouldn't it? Dragon Ball GT is a mix between Dragon Ball and Z. Dragon Ball GT rocks hard because it celebrates what came before. Though, it's a bit careless in the way that it navigates our heroes' various futures. This might sound like I'm going back on what I've been saying about this show, but I'm not. GT is a simple case of some people loving a series for the same reasons that other people hate it. By making Goku a kid again and sending him off on an adventure with Pan and Trunks, the series ends up recapturing a bit of the youthful magic and adventure of Dragon Ball. The series still cranks up various killer fights, focuses on powering up to another Super Saiyan level, and continues the trend of upping the powers of each successive villain, all of which made Z so fun. So, basically, when you mix Dragon Ball and Z together, you end up with GT. It isn't as good as either of those, but it's an interesting experiment. Nonetheless, we have to give credit where credit's due, though. GT does have a few exciting concepts up its sleeve. The idea of sending Goku and the gang across the galaxy to find the Black Star Dragon Balls is also a lot of fun. It gives the creative team behind GT plenty of room to really let loose and explore various aspects of the universe at hand, even if they don't use its full potential. This is best seen with Baby, the genetically modified king of the Tuffles. This alien race's home world was wiped out by the Scions, so Baby is on a quest to wipe out the remnants of Goku's people. This motive arguably makes Baby one of the franchise's most interesting villains, even if he's a bit aesthetically unoriginal, looking like a mix between a Scion and Majin Buu. Then there's Omega Shenron, who is about as evil-looking of a villain as this entire franchise has had. His enormous humanoid dragon body is topped off with a little mustache. How do you get more menacing than that? Other than Baby's interesting motivation, GT is primarily original on a surface level, but enough so that it doesn't feel like the creative team is only playing to hits. Plus, what's so wrong with enjoying a series that, plain and simple, embraces the aesthetics of the Dragon Ball universe? I'm all about it. GT might sideline a lot of the original cast in a lot of ways, with Vegeta, Gohan, and Piccolo taking a back seat for large portions of the show, but at least this series is trying to do something different. Dragon Ball Super doesn't seem interested in doing anything other than continuing to power up Goku, Vegeta, and the gang while fighting one more powerful villainous force after the next. You can similarly compare GT and the Star Wars sequel trilogy in this way, while also pairing up Super in the Dave Filoni corner of a galaxy far, far away. One of these wings has some major retreads, but also really tries to do something new and exciting. The other wing is purely a cheap overhaul of what has come before, and any new concepts that it does bring to the table are better left ignored.